Hello again. You're watching East Asia Tonight on CNA. Now, the U.S. military has commissioned a new Navy ship joining the Pacific Fleet from a port in California. But in the U.S. capital, lawmakers are warning that Navy and commercial ships are not being built fast enough to keep up with adversaries. Caroline Malone has more from aboard the USS Canley in San Diego.
The world's most powerful military celebrating a new commission.
We are proud to serve in America's Navy!
The USS Canley is a new class of ship offering special operations support, drone capabilities, mine hunting and sweeping, and is built by commercial shippers.
It's a hybrid ship with a civilian mariner, professional crew from the Military Sealift Command back aft. They handle all navigation, engineering, deck operations. And then we have this huge flight deck, the third largest in the U.S. Navy, hangar and berthing facilities for 145 military crew and up to 200 embarked crew.
From port, you can see the Canley's sheer size to help it handle heavy seas.
This is the mission deck, which is one half for operational capability.
On board, it feels even bigger, a maritime military base that can respond to emergencies.
What you see here is our gear and equipment.
From fires to floods and civilian search and rescue missions, with a crew trained for the whole range. From sea level to all the way up above it. Its attributes include a nearly 5,000 square metre deck that can accommodate helicopters of any size within the joint US forces. The USS Canley has the third largest deck in the US Navy. It can hold special mission boats and up to 4 simultaneous helicopter missions. It's joining the Pacific Fleet, the largest grouping in the world that covers nearly half the Earth's surface, from the US West Coast to the Indian Ocean, Antarctica to the Arctic, with 150,000 military and civilian personnel. But back on dry land, lawmakers say the US doesn't have enough warships, commercial ships or building capacity. They're calling this a threat to national security, to the ability to work with allies and defend against adversaries, including in the Asia-Pacific.
When you're looking at 5,500 ships under the Chinese flag and less than 200 under the United States, like Houston, we have a problem. So we can talk about our reliance on foreign shippers. We can talk about the plans of the Chinese Communist Party to disrupt our economy, as stated by their leaders. Don't take it from me. But really what I want to talk about today is a call to action.
Republican House representatives are calling for a new maritime strategy to protect sailors and maintain US security and competitiveness in the long term. As part of that, the US Navy's newest maritime addition, the USS Canley, took 4 years to build, but it's set to be in commission for 4 decades or more and may see a lot of action on the open seas for years to come. Caroline Malone, CNA, USS Canley, San Diego.
And for more, let's bring in Kazuto Suzuki, Professor of Science and Technology Policy, Graduate School of Public Policy, University of Tokyo. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Professor. Now, the U.S. estimate, they say that China has more than 230 times the shipbuilding capacity than that of the U.S. So help us understand. I mean, how did the U.S. allow itself to lag so far behind? And I guess, can anything be done within a decade to play catch up?
Well, the shipyard is a very cost heavy industry. It requires a lot of labor intensive work. So the cost of building a ship in United States is too expensive and it's not competitive. And therefore the shipbuilding has moved from United States to South Korea, Japan, and then moved to China. And during the sort of a free trade period, it was okay. But today, in this context of the geopolitical competition, I think it is necessary for the United States to rebuild the capacity. But it's not easy. I mean, it takes ages to rebuild the industry. So I think the quickest fix is to build up a network of the alliance with the partners, including South Korea, Thailand, Philippines, to build the shipyard for the U.S. Navy. And that's perhaps the best way to moving forward to have the French shoring of the shipyard building.
And that is perhaps what we're seeing, this network of alliance that, the U.S. is trying to create. I want to touch on the fact that, there are some reports saying that, China may have more ships, but what the U.S. has is more of, I guess, all that high technology, so the important war-fighting types of missile, they have cyber advantages. Is that true, Professor? And I guess to what extent?
Well, the numbers are on the Chinese favor. And China has more ships in the West Pacific. And I think the problem for the United States is that the maritime superiority is now dragging out. And I think this is one of the reasons why Washington is so eager to rebuild the shipbuilding capabilities. But I think it's not just the numbers. As you said, it's a technology, it's a capabilities. And I think it is also the, alliance with the friends, for example, the navies in Japan, Philippines, and Taiwan are also being a certain addition to the numbers. And at the end of the day, it is up to the sensors, the radars, and the missiles. These are also being effectively important because these days, naval ship is not just a simple, the warfighting equipment. It's the platform for the deployment of their capabilities. So I think for a moment, the United States will be able to balance the emerging Chinese Navy maritime forces. But I think the problem is that if we let this go, I think there will be a much more higher speed for China to build up their maritime forces.
And Professor, you mentioned that the U.S. appears to have some sort of an advantage because you have all these critical naval platforms for carriers and destroyers. Help us understand, and how will evolving missile technology change with that?
Well, the missile technology is very important for protecting and attacking in the maritime theater. And currently, the most serious threat from China is the hypersonic gliding vehicle, which is a missile that flies with the gliders. So it can change the courses, so it's much harder to shoot down. And the missile defense or the theater defense is getting much difficult. So I think the new technology needs to be built for the building up the missile defense or the theater defense for protecting those platforms, aircraft carriers and the ships, to make sure that the forces are protected. But the problem is that the Japan and the United States were not capable yet to build such a missile defense system, and we are not on parity for having the gliding vehicle, hypersonic gliding vehicles.
And it sure sounds that the U.S. have quite a bit of catch-up to do. Well, thanks so very much for that discussion. Kazuto Suzuki, Professor of Science and Technology Policy, the Graduate School of Public Policy, University of Tokyo.